Hello and welcome to Trails, Tales and Fails, the podcast where we celebrate the grind, the glory and the occasionally gruesome feat of ultra running. Now, today's guest is one of the most consistent and positive forces in the ultra world. A full-time firefighter and a family man, he somehow managed to log over 250 weeks of consecutive 100-plus mile weeks of running. And that is 5 straight years. He's towed the line at some of the toughest races out there: Moab 240, UTMB multiple times, Cocodona 250, and most recently the Arizona 300, where he battled heat, mountains, fatigue, and the internet's unsolicited opinions. He's also completed the LA Marathon dressed as a bottle of prime. He's proved that consistency beats speed, kindness beats trolls, and if your feet are bleeding, you're probably doing it right. So before we dive into today's episode, just a quick disclaimer. Running high mileage week after week, like you'll hear about today, is most definitely inspiring, but it also comes with serious health risks if not done with care. We could be talking injuries, burnout, and long-term health issues. So if you're thinking of cranking up your volume, make sure it's part of a well-thought-out plan with rest, strength work, and a proper understanding of your own limits, not to mention making sure you're getting the right nutrition. So with that out of the way, welcome to the show, Andy Glaze. Andy, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. How are you feeling post Arizona Monster 300?
I'm feeling like I'm still recovering, but the body is feeling okay. It was a little rough there for probably about 3 days. My feet were real swollen, but back to running, and everything seems to be all right. So
awesome. Well, I do have some questions which are feet related because obviously, as we're all ultra runners, I'll ask you a question about that later on. So
should I jump in?
Jump in.
Okay, let's go. So, if you could choose any celebrity, dead or alive, to pace you through a tough section in Arizona, who are you picking and why?
I don't watch a lot of TV or movies or anything like that, but I'd probably pick someone like, Jesus Christ, just so I feel like there'd be a lot of very interesting questions I could ask him if he was around. There's a lot of history involved in him, so I think that would be a really interesting deep dive. Although I don't think he'd probably speak English, but if he did, it'd be good to talk to.
I think if I was running 300 miles, I'd want to be paced by someone who knew how to resurrect themselves.
Exactly. It might be a good thing, in case I died out there.
We ask everybody who comes on about guilty pleasures during races, and these can usually be sort of post-race indulgences, mid-race snacks, music, just anything that gets you between aid stations, anything that gets you to the end of a race. We'd love to know what yours is.
It really depends on the race. If it's like a looped course where I have access to like my own stuff, I love avocado sushi. I've run many 100-mile races just eating avocado sushi. So that's definitely like my go-to. If it's not, probably Coke, not the white stuff, but the soda, because I don't normally drink soda for any reason, but I will drink it during an ultra. And I do definitely think of it as a guilty pleasure. But I think at the Arizona Monster, I got to an aid station and it was like 100 degrees out and they had ice. And I sat down and drank an entire 2-liter of Coke to myself, which, it was delicious and cold and amazing. So
that's a lot of cake.
It's a lot of calories. It's a lot of caffeine. It's a lot of everything. And then I just immediately took a nap right after I did it. So it was,
I do like the avocado sushi one. we've not had that before.
No, that's quite heavy
Yeah.
in the stomach.
Well, it's the rice is like the perfect blend of carbohydrates, and the avocado is the perfect blend of fat. And I've just always found it like really, really good fuel while you're running, especially if you're running like far.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you for those. So are you just able to give us a bit of a, like, it doesn't need to be too long, but like a background into your journey into ultra running? Like, were you like runner at high school and then there was like a natural transition into ultra running, or is there something else?
No, I mean, I played football in high school, football, American football. Um, Never was a runner, was super unhealthy all through college, smoked cigarettes. And I really didn't start running until I was in like my mid 20s. And ultra running came way late just because I'd never even heard of it. Like, I didn't hear of ultra running until I was in my 30s. And I was doing like a lot of obstacle course racing. I don't know if you guys have that. Like, we have like Spartan and Tough Mudders.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a 24-hour one that I was going to do. And so I looked into ultra running as a way to train for a 24-hour Tough Mudder. So I was like, well, I'm going to have to run, like, if I'm running for 24 hours, it's obviously going to be more than a marathon. And so I did a 50K as a way to like see what it would feel like, for my body to go that far. And then eventually I just liked ultra running more than I liked obstacle course racing. And then it just became a full-time ultra running thing.
Oh, wow. What a journey.
I heard that you'd done the 24-hour Tough Mudder, because I've done a couple of the Tough Mudders in the UK and a few of the Spartan races.
I haven't done Spartan, but I've done a lot of Tough Mudders. I was like, I feel like it's kind of like you're either like into Tough Mudders or Spartans, like, like you're either into Max or, Android. It's kind of like one or the other. And I picked Tough Mudder. So I wasn't throwing spears and doing stuff like that. Didn't get me excited, but yeah, the 24-hour Tough Mudder, I did a couple of them and they were pretty challenging. So
did the 24 only because I was curious, did the 24-hour ones, what are they, the same obstacles as the sort of day ones that I would say the public are allowed into? Do they have sort of like the electric shock obstacles and things like that? Are you literally going through that every single lap?
Yeah. They had, I mean, the obstacles were bigger and better, and like there was a lot more hype around them. Obviously, if you were signing up for it, you'd already done other Tough Mudders, so it was kind of like Tough Mudder on steroids. And I think it was only like 5-mile loops, but you still had however many, like 15 different obstacles. So you ended up just doing a ton of obstacles. There was the electric shock therapy, but they always had like an option to avoid it. Like you would do something else instead of getting shocked every time if you didn't want to get shocked on every loop, because you'd be getting shocked every like 5 miles. And they like crazy things. Like I did the one in Vegas, so we had to like jump off a giant cliff, which was like 35 feet high, which is significant, and just like swim across a lake holding a torch. And then they would have like if you failed the obstacle, they had like penalty things you would do. So, if you were jumping off some plank and had to like hit a bell with your hand, if you missed it, then you had like a penalty lap you had to run, and it was like a 1 mile loop somewhere, and they'd send you off. And so it was like with the normal Tough Mudder, you don't get penalized if you're not successful with the obstacle, but with this they would. So it was fun. I mean, I had a great time. It's just over 24 hours, you lose a lot of dexterity in your hands, especially when it's cold and you're in and out of water the whole time. And so the obstacles start getting like really challenging as you lose dexterity, if you can imagine, because a lot of those obstacles require you to use your hands.
Great. Well, yeah, we're gonna. It's,
Not for me, thank you.
I was. You had me there. I was like, oh, I'd love to give this a go, and then I suddenly thought, at night in the cold and things like rope climbs and things, I was like, yeah, you know what, maybe not.
I ran it at night in a full wetsuit because it's like it was so cold at night, and you're just in and out of the water the whole time, and so the wetsuit at least would like keep you warm. That leads to a whole other challenges if you could imagine running an ultra in a wetsuit.
Yeah. I'm all ears when it comes to running anything, any ultra distance that I might have a chance of beating Sarah on. So
no, not going to happen. Let's carry on.
So yeah, moving on to talk about sort of big races, big mileage. We're just going to ask some questions about the Arizona 300. First of all, obviously, you're famous for doing absolutely massive races all over America and all over the world, presumably. We're just sort of curious, what was the sort of appeal of the Arizona 300? What made you sign up? And then how did it go, basically, mile by mile? Was it...
Don't break down the 300 miles.
Don't need 300 points, but was it sort of different to anything else you'd faced before, or was this just sort of business as usual, just a bit longer?
I signed up for it. I like Destination Trails, which is like the company that runs it. I think they do a good job. So I had confidence in like their ability to put on something like this. And then I've never run the southern aspect of Arizona. So that was kind of exciting to me too. Like I've run a lot of around Phoenix and I've run a lot of northern Arizona, but to run the southern section was like all new to me. And I like exploring new trails. So it was giving me the opportunity to like check a huge chunk of Arizona off my list. And I don't think there's anything as business as usual when it comes to like anything over 100 miles. Multi-day events are really, really challenging when it comes to just so many things can go wrong. And you always have to kind of be on top of everything a little bit more than you can in a shorter ultra distance. I think in like 100 mile or lower, like you can always kind of like fake it in a way where if you get to a situation like you're low on calories or you're a little dehydrated or you're starting to chafe a little bit, you're like, well, I'm only 20 miles to the finish. And then you can kind of just like force yourself to finish and then, deal with the consequences later. But in a 200 to 300 mile race, little things add up to big things. And so you have to like take everything really seriously and really pay attention to your body and not let any small things get it like form into big things like blisters or dehydration or, if you get too hot or if you get too cold or, you get too chafed. There's just so many things that you have to like manage.
Yeah, being bothered, isn't it? It's being bothered to stop.
Yeah. And sleep. There's just so many things. It's just like, it's a very different sport. And then because I do them like solo, that adds like a whole other wrinkle because you have aid stations, but you're still like in charge of yourself. And so it makes it a little bit more challenging when you don't have a team to like kind of put you back together and like help you and do all the things that I would look around and see other people getting done to them.
That makes a huge difference for some people. I think some people really, really like that, just being able to just go out on their own, not have to worry about like organizing a crew or organizing what bags they need, and they can just manage themselves. Do you like just having the just to deal with it on your own from aid station to aid station? Obviously there's like a bit of a different set of like problem solving and organization. Is that what you prefer, or do you prefer the having like?
I think it's harder, and my goal going into these things is to like really have the hardest experience that I possibly can. I'm not out there like trying to make it easier on myself or like, and I think it's, it's admirable for people to get help. And like, I'm not cutting down anybody that gets aid station or, has crew or anything like that. I'm just saying for me personally, I'm looking for the hardest thing that I can put myself through. And I want all those challenges where it's like me against me and I'm having to problem solve. I'm having to be organized. I'm having to like stay focused even when I'm losing my mind a little bit and learning from my mistakes and not forgetting things. I just find it a totally different experience. I've raced with crews. I've raced with pacers. It's very nice. But most of the time that's not my personal goal. And I'm not out there trying to win it. So for me, it's just a different, like I'm doing this more for like myself than, worrying about if I'm going to be on the podium or not. So I can kind of just go out there and like, have a spiritual experience, for me, and not have to worry about anybody else.
Yeah.
So talking about not worrying about anybody else, do you, because I know that you post on socials whilst you're running, and some of the posts that you do whilst running are quite raw with emotion because that's how you're feeling at that point of the race.
Right.
Do you sort of reach out to people whilst you're running, whilst you're doing those like long sections of walking? Do you like check in with the family, or do you like to just mainly kind of be like with your thoughts? Or I saw that you took 5 pairs of shocks to the Arizona 100, so I was like, oh, he's probably definitely not been crewed for that, because like you don't need 5 pairs of shocks unless you've been crewed. Or do you tend to just like say like, I'll see you in like 4 days?
Right. I mean, so like for the multi-day events, I definitely call my wife. If I have service, I definitely, she worries a lot about me. And so I check in with her and just let her know that everything's okay and that I'm doing all right and, where I'm at and things like that. But yeah, I think at the Arizona Monster, I listened to like 2 books, probably like 5 podcasts and just like a ton of music. So just because I was out there, I like to listen to things. It keeps, sometimes when it's the middle of the night and it's dark and you start to get tired. If you can listen to something or listen to people talk, then it keeps the brain active and then you have a less likely chance of falling asleep. So I definitely listen to music and things while I'm racing. I enjoy that, but yeah, most of the time it's just, me out there. Occasionally, you'll run with some people. I definitely had a couple sections of the Arizona Monster where I ran with some really cool people and, talked to them and found out their story. And then you get to the aid station and you guys both do your own thing and, you never see them again. So, but
it's all part of it. Is all, like you say earlier, it's all part of that adventure.
It
all layers up. So with this monster race, there would have been highs and lows, and like Max said, you're very amazing in how you share, so that you're sharing the story with us and the adventure as you can. And what was the lowest point of the race, and how did you keep pushing through?
Man, I had a lot of lows, but probably the lowest was I think it was it night 2? I'm trying to remember. I think it was night 2. It got really, really cold. And I just like was so frozen. And I wasn't expecting it. And yeah, I mean, I was so tired and all I wanted to do was sleep. But at Cocodona last year, I was in a similar situation and I had laid down on the ground and like slept. And then I ended up getting like hypothermia because I was so cold. And then, the ground's cold. And so, yeah, I didn't want that to happen. So I just like kept pushing myself and like got to the aid station without sleeping. And then I ended up basically passing out in a camping chair and sleeping like in front of a fire for like an hour. But then I had to get up and like it was still freezing and I put pants on. Like I never wear pants, but it was like so cold that pants were mandatory at the race. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put these things on. Like I've been carrying them this whole time. I might as well put them on. And yeah, that was a rough point, but
Yeah.
you know,
you smiled and you carried on.
Yeah. I mean, and then it's like the weird thing about Arizona is it's freezing at night. And the second the sun comes up, like I'm talking like within 5 minutes, it's like unbearably hot. So as soon as the sun comes up, you're like back in a t-shirt, which is just like really weird because you're like shivering cold, and then it's like, oh, it's like 65 degrees again, and then you just carry on. So it's a weird part about races like that with the really extreme weather, like shifts. You have like I don't know. I mean, I think probably it got in the 20s that second night, and then it's like 90 during the day, so you got like a 70-degree shift. That's significant, especially when you're just out there over and over day after day. It's and then I'm sure you guys know, like with ultras, as it goes on, your hypothalamus like starts kind of failing, and you stop being able to like regulate your temperature. And then you have these like really intense weather shifts, and it's like you're shivering and it's hot out, and then you're like cold, and it's just weird things start happening to your body.
Yeah. Oh, so what events have you got lined up for the next 12 months? Do you try and plan? Are you quite regimented in your planning in advance of the races that you want to do?
I mean, I kind of am, because it's like, it didn't used to be this way, but nowadays, if you don't like stay on top of things, the races sell out, or you got to enter the lottery, or you got to do all this stuff. So I've had to become more regimented. I don't like it, but unfortunately it's just the way of ultras now. Partially probably my fault for advertising them so much, but it's like a double-edged sword. Like I want our sport to be like really popular, but then it's like I get sad when I don't get into the races. So so I have Cocodona in 2 weeks. It's like a week and a half, and then let's see, Crazy Mountain, which is a race in Montana, which is amazing. It's right now, it's probably my favorite North America 100. But again, it sells out really fast. Then I got Leadville. I think I'm going to do UTMB.
That's going to be a question of mine.
I didn't get into the lottery, but it sounds like I might get an invite to that race. But if I don't do UTMB, I'm going to do Wasatch, which is in Utah. I might do them both anyways. I don't know. But they're just really, really close together. And then Moab 240. And then I'll probably do Javelina 100.
So just a few then.
Yeah. This year I'm taking it easy. I think last year I did like 13. So this year won't be.
It's like an ultra runner's entire career. You're just doing it in a year.
Yeah. we were talking to somebody called Scott Jenkins. I don't know if you might have crossed paths with him at the Monster.
Yeah.
So he's Welsh, and he's just recently moved to the US, and he was saying, similar to you, he's done like Moab, Cocodona, and he was like, one of the reasons he chose the Monster was that he was very, very impressed with like the organization of Destination Trails.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, and we've got our sort of races here that we really, really like just go back to over and over again, because we just love the organization, the community. I'm guessing like Destination Trails kind of feels like that community for you. Would that be right?
Yeah. Both like Cocodona and Cocodona is run by Aravaipa.
Sorry.
And then Destination Trails has like really, really good organization and really good vibes and really good volunteers. And I have a great time running both their races. So, Destination Trails tends to only do like the 200 plus milers, whereas Aravaipa does everything from like a 5 miler to Cocodona, which is a 250. But yeah, both those companies, they do a really good job, and I just, I love their races. So I'm a vegan, so yeah. The other thing is, it's super bougie, but like they both have amazing vegan food at all their aid stations, which is helpful for me because I've had to do races in places where I had to like survive off of like pretzels and peanuts and things like that, which I can do, but it's not ideal,
Yeah, and if you're like unsupported, you're not crewed as well as a
Right.
vegan, and we know here, like, definitely being a vegan is on the up, and they are catered for, but relative to what a non-vegan would see at an aid station, it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
Yet. So yeah, I mean that's surely, that must be a big draw, especially if you like doing these events unsupported.
I mean, I've done UTMB several times, and like now they're sponsored by like like I think it's called like Knock or something like that, and they have like all this vegan bars and stuff like that, which are really good. But before that, I basically used to run UTMB and just eat baguettes and drink Coke. And I would run the whole, 170 kilometers just on bread and Coke the whole time.
Yeah.
So, I can do it. I mean, I've raced in China where all they had was cashews and cherry tomatoes, and I did it, but, not ideal.
Did you,
so,
not ideal, Andy. Not ideal.
I've seen you've done a few races in China and you've done UTMB. Is it 4 times?
I think I've done it 5 times.
Is it 5? I know it's difficult with like the work and the family balance, but is there any other races in Europe or another area of the world, areas of the world outside the US that interest you?
Yeah, I really I want to do the spine race. I have it on my calendar for when it's like the sign up is for the summer. I think it'd be cool to do next year if I can get in the summer spine. I can't do the winter. I live in the desert, and I'm not equipped emotionally or physically to be able to like run in snow for that long.
You are right. Emotions come into it in a big way in our winter compared to the desert.
Well, and it's like I can run through a lot of pain, and so I just always worry in cold stuff that like I would just ignore what's going on with my feet and then like end up losing a toe or something. I don't have to worry about that with heat.
In the winter spine this year, there's like the full spine, which is 256 or 258, and then there's 2 shorter versions, one which covers the southern section and then one which covers the northern section of the spine. And one of our good UK ultra runners who wins a lot of races in the UK, he went herring out in one of the shorter spines. I think it was like 168 miles, and he was like first place. And after about 60 miles, he DNF'd. And like, I like to look at the tracker and see what's going on in these sort of races. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, why is he out of the race? And a couple of days later on Instagram, he posted that he basically flown out, hadn't really accounted for the fact that there'd been a huge amount of rain, and then it had frozen. And he was basically just smashing through ice. Like that, you might not actually, because you live in the desert, but you can get like this ice layer, which is like firm enough to run through, but is actually really, really painful.
Right.
And he just made his legs just like red raw, just see running through ice and then bog.
You're not selling it. You're not selling
it.
it.
No. I mean, I have done a lot of mountaineering, so I mean, I'm familiar with movement through snow and ice and everything. I just don't enjoy it, and I can do 30 miles, but I don't want to do like 100 plus, So I think the summer's fine. I want to do tour. One of these years I'll do tour. All my friends have done it, and I feel a lot of pressure. Like I gotta do it to build the resume, And then just like, I mean, there's so many like cool races in Spain, and I mean, there's more in France, and just, I mean, there's so many races. It's until I retire, it's going to be hard. But yeah, eventually I'll be out there running a lot more races. Probably once I retire, I can just like go out to Europe for like, 6 months and just do races out there for a while and just enjoy myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So we spoke to Scott last week and we said, "Oh, Scott, have you got some statements which are truth or lie?" And he said, "No, I'm really sorry. I missed that message." So, Andy, you're a very busy person.
Right.
You may or may not have some statements for us, which we then guess whether we think they're true or a lie. Have you got any statements, or did you not quite see the message?
Well, I mean, did you see my statement that I was going to take the 4 days before the Arizona Monster and run 100 miles each day to get to the start line?
Right, hang on. So this is one. This could be one. So the game is we then have to try and guess if this is a truth or a lie.
I mean, I made a whole video about it, but like, it's 400 miles from my house to the start line of the Arizona Monster. And so what I did was run 100 miles each day. My wife drove our car, and then we got a hotel at night, and then I woke up the next day and ran 100 miles. So I actually ran 700 miles, but the first 4 were like on road, and it wasn't very much vert, like maybe 10,000 feet.
Oh, so quite easy then.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Wow.
Is that true? Is that true? Is that true?
This is true.
Is that? I missed that one. That was true, was it?
It was all. I mean, you didn't see the video?
No, I missed that one.
No, it was on April Fool's Day, so that was actually. But it got a lot of people, and everyone thought at the Monster that I had run 400 miles to get to the start. So that was.
It's quite anyone else.
Yeah.
It would be totally
It was like just that like borderline where it was like kind of true, but then maybe the 100 miles a day is what got people. So.
Yeah, it seems inconceivable, but then you're like, oh, but we're talking to Andy Glaze.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if we question that, is that just mugging him off?
Yeah,
is that just
being rude?
Yeah, being rude. Oh gosh,
I would never say that was a lie.
So you got us. So 250 plus weeks of daily running. What is the real key to that kind of consistency?
And this is for you, not your average person.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key is that you have to really love running. I mean, I love running, and so I have a good time doing it. There's very few times when I'm ever like upset that I have to go run. So that's probably the key, right? Is like you have to love what you're doing, and then and I do.
Do you mix it up?
Do I what?
Mix it up. So do you do some speed work, some hills, some reps, do you mix it up in the week?
I mean, so I don't do any speed work. When I became an old man, I told myself I wasn't going to do speed work anymore because I hated it, and I don't do things that I hate anymore. So, and I find that speed work leads to injury. And so, if you want to run over 100 miles every week for over 5 years, like the goal is always not to be injured, because it's hard to run 100 miles when you're injured. So I don't do speed work. I live in a hilly area and I'm surrounded by mountains. And so I do run a lot of vert. But I'm a firefighter. And so I'm at work for like 2 to 4 days normally in a row, sometimes more. And so I will run around the firehouse, just like loops around the firehouse. And that's flat and boring. So, depending on where I am and, how much free time I have really depends on how I'm going to run and how I'm going to train. But I'm not like, I don't have like a coach that tells me, hey, today you're going to do this, or I just say, okay, I got 3 hours. What am I going to do? How can I maximize that 3 hours?
That sort of leads. That's my next question actually, is in how do you keep that streak alive when you've got shift work, travel, family, and life is busy. With social media. Yeah. So it's just like, so I guess what you're saying is you just do it when you can.
Yeah. I mean, I wake up early, that's the one thing about me is I wake up super early every day, and I get a lot of the bulk of the running in the morning when everybody's asleep.
That's what
And
we do.
and then I do like in order to run 100 miles, like the easiest way to do it is to run twice a day. So then I do another small run in the evening, and that just like adds to like everything, and it really does. Even if you do like 3 to 5 miles, I mean, if you do 5 miles every evening, that's an extra 35 miles a week. So it does make it easier to like get to that 100 miles. So
yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope you don't mind me asking this question. So I think it's.
He's going to ask it anyway.
I'll ask it anyway. And if you don't like it, you can just ask me to take it out. I've got no problem with that. So we come across like a lot of ultra runners who have some sort of story. And I think that for us, we definitely use running as a way to sort of try and form a positive headspace. Now, I read an article where, you said on the pod that you're a firefighter, like we've seen on your Insta that you're a firefighter, which obviously comes with, its own like stresses and things that you have to deal with. Do you feel like running has helped with that and being able to sort of turn what could be like quite a busy headspace into like a positive mindset?
yeah, I mean, so I do talk quite a bit about it. I have pretty significant because I'm a firefighter, but I'm also a paramedic. And in the U.S.,
you only need to talk about what you want to talk about. By the way,
yeah, no, I'm open book. I'm not. Don't worry about it. In the U.S., firefighting and paramedics like go together, and so we run fires and traffic accidents and then like all the other like heart attacks, strokes, all that sort of stuff too. So we're kind of like a one-stop shop. And so, due to that, I have pretty significant PTSD just from, I mean, you're seeing on a daily basis, everybody's having their worst day of their life, whether they're dying, dead, or whatever is going on in their life. That's what you're exposing yourself to every day that you're on shift. And it's cumulative and it builds up. And, right now in the fire service in the US, we're like kind of having an epidemic of people like killing themselves. And so, and a lot of it is just, due to like mental health issues and things like that are hard to address, because traditionally it's like take a pill or go see a therapist. And that's how you deal with, when you feel sad or depressed or like PTSD symptoms. And why I don't think that I'm not saying that that's bad to do those two things. I think that there are other things that can help you. And so I push, a message of movement is medicine to a lot of firefighters that follow me, and just basically just speak from personal experience that, running has really helped me be able to digest and like deal with a lot of the symptoms of PTSD. And it quiets the mind. And a lot of times when you're having PTSD symptoms, like you can't turn your brain off. And I've found that through, long distance running, the brain it turns off, and it's really, really soothing. Especially when I'm on these really long races. It's, there's not a whole lot of thought going on about all the bad things in my brain. It's more, just like focusing on nature and the beauty of where I'm at and how lucky I am and gratitude and things like that. So, I definitely use it for that. And it definitely helps me a lot. So,
yeah. Well, it sounds like through the job that you do as a firefighter and paramedic, that's obviously like incredible work. So, hats off. And if you're able to positively influence people in a similar position to you, through sharing like the message that running can put you into a clearer headspace, like that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's the goal. And I definitely meet a lot of firefighters that have started running either because of me or David Goggins or like whoever, but like, I don't really care who gets them out the door as long as they're getting out the door. So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, smile or you're doing it wrong. We would love to know how you came up with that phrase. How did it start and when did it start?
I'm not sure when it started. I mean, it must have started, 10 or so years ago, definitely before I had like any sort of social media following, but it started because there's this amazing single track, on a little hill or mountain near my house. And somebody had named the Strava segment on it, "You're either smiling or you're crying." And, I just, it's one of my favorite Strava segments and it's so beautiful. And I always just used to think to myself, like, man, if you're not smiling on this, you're doing it wrong. Cause it was just like so much fun, just this like really buttery, beautiful single track. And that's sort of where it started. And then it's obviously, progressed into like a whole, attitude shift and just trying to like, ultras are hard and you're going to have really hard times, but the key is to stay positive and the key is to not let those negative emotions overtake you when you're in the race, because the mind will give up way before the body will give up. So you gotta stay mentally strong, and the best way to stay mentally strong is positivity and so
I sort of think to myself as well, it's like, it makes me think, don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
There's so many people that would love to be in this position that we're in, to be healthy and strong and be able to like accomplish these things. And for whatever reason, they're either, I mean, we all have friends that are injured, right? We all have friends that like, they can't run right now and they want to get back on the horse, but they got to wait for whatever to heal. Or, then there's people that have just been born with debilitating, diseases or whatever, and they can't run and they can't go out and do things. So we're very lucky, and it's important to remind yourself that when you're out there, doing the things that we're doing, because not everybody can do it.
Lucy Gozage, who won the Winter Spine this year, she says a quote is, that's privilege. It's a privilege to feel pain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I like that one. Yeah, that links to what you're saying, as in just for us to be able to experience it and to be grateful for it. So yeah.
I always tell my son, like, I'm like, hey, dead people don't get to feel pain. So, we're lucky to be able to feel this because we're not dead. So
yeah.
It's good to be alive.
Yeah. Following on from that, obviously you were very active on social media.
Kind of. I mean,
yeah.
I post a lot of stuff. I don't digest a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of going to be the question, really, because obviously you talk a lot about, switching the brain off, how sort of long runs and running in general is sort of used as therapy and just quiet space from real life. But obviously you're mixing that with a lot of social media, which comes with a lot of criticism. You talk a lot about the haters and you get presumably a lot of negative comments. Yeah. And I guess the question is, as you said, you sort of don't really pay a huge amount of attention to that. But I guess personally, I don't know if I could switch that off. So I think the question is, do you just completely blank it, or is there a way you're switching it off, or do you sort of feed off of that and then just go out and live your life sort of harder because you're getting criticism from people you're not interested in, sort of thing?
I mean, social media is very easy for me because I'm literally just documenting myself, and who I am on social media is who I am in real life. So there's no difference of who Andy is on, what you see is what you get. And if you meet me at a race, you'll find I'm the same person that, makes the videos and everything. And then, the haters, the internet's just filled with haters. It doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter if you're, Mother Teresa or the Pope or whoever, like, there's going to be people that are going to hate you and they're going to cut you down. And, I more or less just try to teach people that it's important just to like laugh at them, because whoever they are, they're obviously projecting, and they're probably not in a good spot. So, don't let them steal your, like your positive energy. I honestly think it's hilarious. So when I post my videos, like I'm more or less like making fun of these people, not like concerned that they're saying these horrible things about me. Just like, I'm just literally laughing at them as like they're a clown.
I have my own opinion on this. And again, talking to Scott last week, and we were talking about how there's a bit of negativity around the Arizona monster, but probably from people actually who had no experience or had no right to be commenting on it. And like my take on it is that a lot of trolls and a lot of people who post these negative things are probably doing so out of jealousy, for whatever reason, possibly because they're not able to accomplish, or they, for whatever reason, don't accomplish the things that they are looking at other people accomplish. So they feel this need to try and chip it away at people that are doing it.
I mean, the world is filled with a lot of people with mental illness, and a lot of those people have internet connections and write horrible things. So if we're all going to sit around and like worry about all these people with mental illness and what they have to say without just laughing at it, then we're all going to have bad days. But at the end of the day, it's like, whether it's they're using it to rationalize why they're not active, or because they're jealous, or just, because they get some sort of gratification out of, tearing people down because that makes them feel better. I mean, we could psychologically analyze them probably for, quite a long time, but at the end of the day, it's probably just mental illness, and, just, it's not really worth like, like worrying about it. Just, I have really thick skin. I'm a firefighter, I'm around a bunch of like alpha males that like to run into burning buildings, so our skin is pretty thick, and we all talk a lot of shit to each other. So I'm used to it, and I know a lot of people aren't used to it. So for me, I'm more or less just trying to help people that really do get hurt by this, that like, again, it's that mental shift. Like, don't get hurt by it. Just laugh at it, laugh at these people, and you'll feel better about it if you don't take it so personally.
It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson to learn for children, for adults. It's a good lesson, and a hard lesson for some.
It is hard. It is hard. I mean, it's hard to like not take things personally, but at the end of the day, why do you care? If there's like a saying, like, if you don't know my phone number, then why do I care what your opinion of me is? I mean, why does that? You obviously don't know me. If you don't know my phone number, then we're not friends. So why would I care? If you think I run too fast or too slow, or like if I'm fat or if I'm skinny or if it's bad for my knees, or like whatever they want to say, like, I don't know you and you don't know me. So
no, you're right. See, that's a good head. Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's it's probably quite nice to sort of cut through the noise. So sort of like for every 100 negative comments, it sounds like your goal is to, through living your life, is to sort of reach that one person that can actually hear your message and that might benefit from it. So I've come from like an addiction background myself, and we used to sort of sit in meetings, and every single week you'd have people in and out, and you'd give your message, give your story, and then you'd never see that person again. And it's sometimes quite easy to take it not personally, but sort of, okay, maybe I failed in some way or didn't get the message across. But there's always that one person that starts coming back, and actually every week is appearing again and again and again, and staying sober or whatever it is that you're struggling with. So yeah, it must be quite nice to know that through all that negativity, there must be people, you must have met people at races or had messages that you've seen that are giving you appreciation for the message.
Yeah, I mean, thousands and thousands of messages of people I've helped. So it never ends, and it's so rewarding, and I never take it for granted. But it's one of the reasons why I do what I do. I don't make any money off social media. So it's literally just to help people and to, be a sort of beacon of positivity in this very, very negative world.
Well, thank you. Thank you for it. Thank you for the messages and for what you're sharing, because it makes a big difference. So thank you.
Well, I mean, I really do hope it helps. And I know it has helped a lot of people, but, I'm going to keep doing it and, I try to make a difference in this world. And I mean, that's my goal. And it was my goal when I got into firefighting, is to just make a difference. And now with social media, I can reach so many more people. And I do. And I know there's thousands and thousands of people that have started running because of me, or done their first 5K because of me, or their first marathon or whatever. And I know that's like a huge experience for them. That's going to just bring so much positivity.
Yeah.
And that's great. I know who inspired me to start running. And it was like a college professor, and I had to run 1.5 miles. And, I still think about her all the time, because she's the one that got me to start running, and I've never stopped since. So, yeah.
Have you managed to find her and tell her?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've talked to her since. Yeah, for sure. She now it's like she thinks I'm crazy because I do all the 100-mile races and everything like that. But
well,
yeah, for sure.
So going back into the races, let's talk about your feet.
Okay, my famous feet, or infamous? My infamous feet.
How do your feet manage to bounce back so quickly after so many huge runs?
Well, a lot of trial and error. I've had a lot of foot issues, because running through the mountains and through mud and through water and everything for hundreds and hundreds of miles is hard on the feet. So I've just over the years developed a system to keep my feet as safe as possible, and which is essentially taping my toes, lubing my feet, and cleaning and changing my socks at aid stations to reduce the amount of dirt and everything that gets in. So they're doing better now. Not always, I did a race last year where I was in deep water for probably 90 out of the 100 miles. Water probably from your ankle to your knee, depending on where I was in the race. That was pretty hard on the feet. There's not a whole lot you can do. But yeah, I find with, a little lube, a little tape, and some socks, you can go pretty far. After the monster, my feet were pretty swollen, but I think it's because I had to drive 9 hours home. So when you sit in a car for 9 hours, you get some swelling issues, but I don't know. After a day or so, the swelling went away.
Mm-hmm. Crack on.
So I'm a dad of 4, ranging from 16 down to 3. And my question for you is, well, I'll read it as it is. So do your family think you're crazy, or has your running rubbed off on them? I can say that I've not managed. The older they get, the more I'm struggling with them. But my 3 and 5-year-old absolutely love running at the moment.
Yeah.
My 16-year-old is definitely in the what's the point phase.
So I have a 14, 13, and 10-year-old. Definitely when they were younger, they would run with me. We do little 3-mile races and do 5Ks and stuff like that. And then they didn't run with me at all for the last couple of years. But my son last year came to me and said, "You think I could run a marathon?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think you could run a marathon." And he said, "Will you train me to run a marathon?" And I said, "Yeah." And so he and I have been training to run a marathon for 6 months now. And we're going to run it. This is the marathon I'm running this weekend. Salt Lake City he and I are going to run it together. So, but,
social media, amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's been really amazing. I didn't push it on him at all. He came to me. I think, he's really interested in girls now. So he wants to have, the muscular body with the 6-pack and all the things. And so he's motivated to work out and do all these things because he's now interested in girls. So I don't think it's like I did anything. I think it's just the teenager, hormones going wild that have motivated him to do it. And we'll see if he ever runs another one after this, because obviously it's been a lot of hard work and teenagers don't like hard work. So we'll see where it goes. But my daughter's not runners, not interested. And I'm not going to I don't push it on them. So, but yes, I do think I'm crazy. Long, short answer. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad we asked a question.
So we've got a couple of questions on fails, and then we've got a very, very short quick fire round. So what's the biggest mistake you've made during a race? Could be kits relating, pacing, nutrition.
Yeah.
Anything out?
Probably the biggest I've ever made was I did the Badwater 135, which is the really hot race. And it was, are you guys in Fahrenheit or you Celsius?
Celsius.
Yeah. So I don't know the translation. It was 128 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite hot. It's one of like the hottest places on Earth. And this was one of the hottest years. And I messed up my electrolytes and I did not take enough and ended up with like full body cramps for about 2 hours that were so debilitating. It's still to this day the worst pain I've ever been in my entire life. And didn't finish the race, but yeah, I think that's the biggest issue I've ever had was just like I didn't take enough electrolytes in when it was just so hot. So and now when it's really hot, I make sure to take a lot more, like a higher dose of electrolytes. But
yeah, we know a few people that have done Badwater from over here, and it's Sarah's bucket list race. So hopefully we'll get out there one day. I'm assuming when you did Badwater, because like we know about a little bit about how the crewing works and needing to stop so regularly because the heat. For us, I think conversion is about 50 degrees C, which is mental.
Yeah,
I'm assuming you didn't try and do Badwater uncrewed. I'm guessing.
No. Yeah, you have to have a crew with Badwater. It's part of the race rules. Yeah. Cool. So there are people that have done it uncrewed though, where they like have a wagon behind them and they're pulling it. But yeah, I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That water, the water gets hot, after like 2 miles, you'll have ice cold water and 2 miles later, it'll be so hot that it like burns your mouth as you try to drink it.
Jeez.
So,
yeah,
that's insane. That's mind blowing.
It's brutal.
Yeah. We get the opposite here. We'll be running with our sort of hydration packs on or something like that and just slowly feel the bottles freezing against the chest.
I've definitely had that happen in the mountains before where my bottles and everything have frozen over and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do now? So.
Yeah.
Just find that heat.
Come on. So yeah, on the topic of fails, any race fails that have taught you more than a podium finish ever could?
Any fails that have what now?
That have taught you more in terms of
I mean, I think all my fails have taught me more than a podium finish. Podiums are fun. Like you have that like perfect day or that perfect race and you just feel good the whole time. But I think the races that you don't feel good the whole time and you have to like push through, those are the ones that teach you about grit and teach you about what you're capable of. And then if you fail, there's a reason why you failed. So I think it's important to reflect on that. I like ultra running because there's always a high propensity of failure. And if there wasn't always the chance that you were going to fail, then it probably wouldn't really appeal to me. But I've failed enough of these races to know that like I've been in the best shape of my life and something goes wrong and sometimes you can't control it and that's all she wrote. So whether it's a bad fall or electrolyte imbalance. Like last year at Moab, I got heat stroke, which is a really dangerous heat condition. And, I run in the heat all the time. I live in the desert. I have a sauna in my house. So I should not be getting heat stroke, but I did. And I don't know why, but I just have to be a little bit more cautious in the heat. So, I'm a big fan of failure. I think it's a great thing. And, I'm never scared of it, but I don't want to, I'm not trying to fail, but like when it happens, it's like, okay, well, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's fix what went wrong and let's learn from it. So
I'm a teacher, and one of my acronyms for failure is FAIL, and I have it in my classroom, and it's first attempt in learning. So I just feel very passionately that is what they're going to have to experience through their life. And like you say, in all the adventures that we have on the trails, we're just learning through the failure all the time, whether it's training runs or the races. So I agree with everything you say about that process.
I mean, and like when you're doing a race, it's like all the training runs and all that stuff. That's the important stuff. You're putting in all the hard work. The race is just like the product of all the hard work. So even if you don't survive the race, you still put in all the hard work ahead of time. So you still get all the benefits of that.
Do you feel like when you've finished a race, are you more proud of the process of the training and the graft and the hours worth of work? Are you more proud of that than the actual race itself?
I mean, yes, on some of the races, but like on these like multi-day events, I think I'm more proud of the multi-day events because they're
300 miles.
Yeah, there's like there's a whole other like layer. You can't really train for a 300-mile race, right? I mean, it's you're going. You can run a bunch of hundreds and do stuff like that, but even still, it's like you're going places that training's not going to get you. It's just going to be. It's all mental.
Especially when you've run 400 miles to the start.
That's right, exactly.
700-mile race. Have you ever just really quick? Have you ever sort of considered, sort of talking about multi-day? I mean, you run so much. Have you ever considered sort of these massive tasks, like sort of running the length of America? I don't know if you've seen Russ Cook, the hardest geezer on Instagram and socials, where he'll just run the length of a country. I mean, that sounds like something you could.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like I have a job and a family, and so it's like that's still my priority in life. Like running is fun and it's like my hobby, but my priority is still like working, and I got to provide for my family. I got to pay the bills and like also, spend time with them. So maybe someday when I'm retired or something like that. But I don't see myself doing it while I have, a career and everything. It's just so time consuming, to do something like that.
Right.
Okay, right. So you last up then a quick fire round. So we'll just ask, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 questions.
Okay.
And they're just very short, concise answers. You just go with like the first thing that pops into your head. So hallucination highlight.
My favorites are when like every rock has a little like face on it and they're all like smiling and winking at me, and I can focus on like 10,000 rocks all at the same time. Even though that's not how eyes work. It happens all the time.
There's a lot of winking going on.
Yeah.
Right. Favorite training snack?
I honestly, I train fasted, so I don't eat when I run. I only eat when I race.
Next question then.
What is your dream race on your bucket list?
Hard Rock 100 in Colorado.
Amazing. Right, most underrated piece of kit that you own?
Underrated, huh? Probably my like Salty Britches lube. That stuff's gold standard.
Yeah, there you go. Done. Music, podcast, or silence? I know it's not going to be silence now. So music or podcast or audiobook?
When I race, music normally.
Advice to your younger self before your first ultra.
Run your own race. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Like, let them pass you. Don't worry about it.
Favorite post-race meal?
Acai bowls.
Oh,
What
what
are
are
they?
So acai is like a fruit, and so it's kind of like a blended cold bowl. You guys don't have those in England? No.
We will be Googling it.
It's like ACAI, acai. And then like they'll put like granola and fruit, and it's kind of like a frozen yogurt type thing with like granola and fruit.
Oh,
sounds delicious.
I'm opening a company and I'm coming to England. So
yeah,
like every city in America has a place that sells these things. So if you guys don't have them, I just found a market and I'm going to be a millionaire.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
Well, hang on. Last question. Honestly, how hard is it to run a marathon in a bottle of Prime?
that was hard, but the harder part was that I did 100K like the night before. So like I ran 100K, had 2 hours of sleep, and then ran the marathon in the Prime bottle. So that was that was hard.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Andy, we're done. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
It's been super interesting. We've loved having you on and chatting. Thank you for giving up the time in your extremely busy diary. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course. I'm glad. It's
We're all
good to meet
to
new people, and if I ever come to England, now I have people I can hang out with.
100%. And we'll be looking out for you on the spine. Sorry.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah, post on social media when you're doing the spine race, and we'll figure something out.
Find you.
Okay, it's a date.
Awesome. Good luck for what's next, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.